In this video we go looking for two species of grouse, one that's red listed, a rare gull twice, some birds of prey, and a rare goose from America. This adventure started reasonably close to home with a trip to some local high moorland, and for once we arrived before dark. Hey folks, we're on our favourite piece of undisclosed high moorland here in North Wales. We've just come up here now. We've got someone joining us this time, Emily May. Hopefully tomorrow we'll see some grouse, all being well, and some other things too. So stick with us. We had some dinner, watched the sun go down, and went to bed. We woke up to a very cold, frosty morning, but we got ourselves ready quick and drove a few minutes down the hill towards where we were hoping to find our first target species of the day, the rare and protected black grouse. When we arrived at the usually pretty reliable lekking site, there weren't any grouse there. There were a pretty normal array of grazing sheep, and on the site where the grouse should be, there were some other black, white and brown birds, but these weren't grouse. These were Canada geese. Hey folks, so we've come to the place that's usually reliable for black grouse first thing this morning.
And there's none.
And there's none here. There's a couple of Canada goose that you might be able to hear honking in the background. But no black grouse. We thought this may be a sure thing this morning, so that's a little bit of a disappointment. I'm going to wait another 10 minutes or so and then move on. So stick with us for that. We stayed in the van and waited patiently and quietly, but the black grouse didn't show. So we left the Canada geese behind and had a drive over the moorland, pretty soon finding the other grouse species that we were looking for, the red grouse. This species is far more common than the black grouse and quite widespread in the UK, being present on high moorlands in England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. And unlike the black grouse, which is a red-listed species, the red grouse is widely hunted. The red grouse is considered a subspecies of the willow grouse or willow ptarmigan and is endemic to the UK. And although, as previously mentioned, more common and widely distributed, does have a declining population, some of this due to habitat loss. Regardless, we were happy to see it as it was some kind of consolation for not seeing the black grouse. We drove back over the moors towards the black grouse spot to see if they'd returned, but they hadn't. The only other bird we saw was this mallard that was sat in a shallow pool. It was about this time that someone on a birding app had reported an Iceland gull at Gresford Flash, which was only about half an hour from where we were, so that's well worth a trip. The only problem was, when we arrived, the Iceland gull didn't appear to be there. Hey folks, so we've come from where we were to Gresford Flash because somebody reported an Iceland gull, which isn't here. Yeah, so not a great start. There were a few gulls flying in and out from adjoining fields, so we thought we'd stick around at least a little bit just to see if it showed up again. And there was quite a mix of gull species present, with herring gulls, lesser blackback gulls and black-headed gulls. These were joined by groups of greylag geese, but after a short wait, another no-show from the Iceland gull. After this decidedly disappointing start to the day, I thought I'd try and cheer Kaylee and Emily up. This meant taking them to a destination that appeared in our previous video. Hey folks, we're trying to cheer these two up by trying to find something I saw in the last video that Kaylee really wants to see. So sorry about the repeat, but this should be fun. We don't care.
I don't.
We're going to find some address, hopefully. We headed on the small path from the van down to a place that I saw in the last video, where occasionally, if you're lucky, you can find one of Britain's resident snakes, the amazing adder. And with the help of some other people that were present and one of our subscribers, we soon found one. And like in the last video, it was curled up, sunning itself near some heather. But this time, unlike the last video, the snake was far more mobile.
spending much of its time slithering about in the low vegetation. The adder is one of 3 native snakes to the UK and the only venomous one here. Although there's no need to worry, as they are not at all aggressive and will only bite when seriously provoked. And although I saw these on the last video, this was new for Kaylee and Emily, and I never get tired of them, so we headed off down the path to see if we could find some more. When we first arrived, somebody leaving said they'd seen 6. We couldn't find that many, but we did find another one. Eagle-eyed Kaylee spotted this one in the heather.
Guess what Kaylee's just spotted?
There's 2 adders at the moment.
She's found another adder. This is what we think's the female, the dark, like a browner one. She's cool.
This is one of the beauties of doing this YouTube channel. Yes, I know we're primarily about birds, but we do get to see some amazing wildlife too. Now, our stomachs were rumbling, so it must be lunchtime. We headed back to the van, drove to another lay-by, and had some lunch.
Kaylee's making some lunch. Hey folks, we've stopped for lunch in the place. I saw the Goshawks on the last video. We bumped into someone who was at the black grouse site this morning where we failed to see the black grouse. He saw someone walk across the lake, which spooked all the grouse just before we turned up, which is not ideal.
I decided to try and get some footage of crossbill, but quickly, a serious deja vu moment happened.
What are you looking at, babe?
Goshawk. It's high though.
She's high, she's gone high.
Now,
Yes, again, a goshawk. But I can't apologise for seeing this bird again, because it is absolutely amazing. This huge but very rare hawk is Schedule 1, which means it's protected in the UK, and are still persecuted by people stealing eggs from nests. Early spring is the best time to see goshawk, as they display in something that's called a sky dance. We didn't see that today though, as this bird just flew across the tree line, but still an absolute privilege to behold.
Well, apologies, this is a bit of a rerun of some of last video.
I'm jealous.
But Kaylee was jealous and wanted to see some of these things, so bear with us.
As the goshawk was lost to sight, a buzzard took its place, circling high above our heads.
That was amazing. Again, Kaylee's just gone to the van to entertain Emily for a little bit. I'm just going to see if we can get a couple more pictures of crossbills before we move on.
Last time I got some great, quite close shots of the crossbill, but this time they weren't really playing ball, staying high in the tops of trees, almost entirely silhouetted. Never mind, by now it was well into the afternoon and we had a score to settle.
Hey folks, well, we're back where we started today. Hoping to pick some more birds up for our year list. Stick with us.
Hoping that the black grouse would turn up at their lekking spot before dark, we had a few hours to kill, so we had to wander up one of the hills on this lovely piece of moorland. It was reasonably quiet for birds until, on the way down, we saw a tree that was full of them. The first birds we spotted in this flock were siskin. We saw a pair of these feeding, but then we noticed these were joined by the species I was trying to photograph at the last place, crossbill. There were a number of these birds here feeding on the pine cones, using their highly specialised beaks which cross at the tip. This helps them prize seeds from these cones. Male and female crossbills are a little different, with the males being red and the females being green. And although crossbills are quite widely distributed in the UK, they are a Schedule 1 species, meaning it's illegal to disturb them whilst they're breeding. This group, although distant, were wonderful to watch, but now it was slowly getting to the end of the day, and we were really hoping we weren't going to be disappointed and the black grouse might actually show up. Although when we arrived at the spot, they weren't there. So we decided to wait, and as time went on, our confidence dwindled, until mid-conversation Kaylee shouted, "Black grouse!" And lo and behold, there was one stood alone on the lekking site. We were expecting a group, as this time of year the grouses do lek. Lekking is when the male black grouse display in order to organise a dominance hierarchy, and this time of year This is solely for breeding rights, although the females don't usually show up until at least May. By this time, the males should have organised who's boss, and more likely to be chosen by the females for breeding. Whilst we sat there watching this handsome individual from the van, another 3 black grouse showed up. Unfortunately, black grouse are a rare sight now in the UK and are red listed, so it's lovely to see these ones so close to home. Unfortunately, this time these birds didn't display, they flew off quite soon after arriving.
Hey folks, we finally, after quite a wait, got the black grouse. We were here this morning trying to find them and failed due to somebody walking straight through the leck and spooking them all. We did get red grouse this morning, which was great. Then we went off to find Kaylee and Emily the adders and the goshawk, which we did see actually, which I saw in the previous video. Sorry for repeating that, but it's too cool.
I had to see it.
It's too cool not to. And I think it's probably chippy time soon. And resume tomorrow. So stick with us for that.
And we did just that. We got ourselves a chippy dinner, drove back up to watch the sun go down on this wonderful bit of moorland. The following afternoon, we took a trip down the coast to Spinney's Nature Reserve near Bangor. As in previous afternoons, people had spotted the rare Cumlin subspecies of Iceland gull. As anyone who regularly watches the channel may remember, this is a species we have already seen and counted on our year list, but with it being such a rarity and so close to home, I couldn't pass up at least having a look for it.
Hey folks, we're at the Spinney's Nature Reserve in North Wales. Kaylee and Emily behind me trying to find buried treasure. We're hoping at some point we're going to have some gulls show up, including a Cumlin subspecies of Iceland gull. One I have seen this year, but Kaylee hasn't. So we're going to hope again that shows up. Stick with us.
There were a number of gulls on the sea here. They were mostly herring gulls, but I did spot a couple of lesser and greater blackback gulls too. We did spot some other species amongst the gulls, including red-breasted merganser and this female eider. And closer into shore there was a group of greylag geese. We waited around for some time and chatted to a few people on the beach, but still no sign of the Cumlin's gull. As I was trying to get footage of this female goldeneye, Kaylee noticed a report of a rare bird on our birding app that had shown up about half an hour down the road. So, like these geese, we left and headed towards our next target species.
Hey folks, we've come to, I hope I pronounce it right, Dinistentl in North Wales. We were sat waiting for a Cumlin's gull, which hasn't showed yet, and there was a report of a snow goose about half an hour, so we've just driven half an hour to try and find it, so stick with us, let's see if we do.
After the sat-nav took us the wrong way, we found a place to park next to a road that looks over some fields. There were plenty of geese in these fields, but it didn't take long for Kaylee to spot one that was a bit different. When I say a bit different, it stuck out like a sore thumb. This bird, as its name suggests, is bright white like snow, so it was easy to see amongst a field of greylag and Canada geese. And although the goose was distant, you couldn't really lose it, or so I thought, but more on that later. The snow goose breeds in northernmost Alaska and Canada, with small populations in easternmost Siberia and westernmost Greenland. These birds generally winter in warmer parts of the United States of America and Mexico, so Britain's a bit out of their range. Regardless of this, we do see a few individuals of this species annually, sometimes singly and sometimes in small groups. We saw one of these in the UK last year, but it was the blue phase one, which has got a slightly different plumage. This being the first white snow goose that Kaylee's ever seen, and the first one I've seen for many, many years. Excellent.
Hey folks, we found the snow goose. It was in a field, it was quite distant, but we got it. The video's a bit shaky, I apologise, it was windy here. I'm just going to have a bit of a look out to sea while I'm here, see if there's anything there.
We'd parked the car on the edge of a pebble beach which looked over a large bay, and earlier that day someone had reported seeing a lot of red-throated divers there. Although, when we looked out there wasn't much at all. There was a few red-breasted mergansers and a couple of gulls. So as Emily played on the beach, I wandered over to get more views of the snow goose. watching it feed for a while amongst the other geese. There were a couple of other goose species here. There were both Canada geese and grey-lag geese. I was quickly distracted by some of the smaller birds around, with a number of pied wagtails feeding amongst the muck, actively running about picking up insects. I got so engrossed in watching these, when I lifted my head up to have a look at the snow goose, I couldn't find it. It had vanished. As it's not something you can really miss in a field, I presume it must have flown off. So I headed back towards the beach, and Kaylee and Emily, seeing this gull on the way that appears to have had a chippy dinner like we'd had the previous night. When I arrived back, Kaylee was watching this red-breasted merganser flock that were in the distance previously but had come much closer in.
Well, there wasn't that much on the sea. A couple of red-breasted mergansers, some distant shelduck and some gulls and such. But it was excellent to get that snow goose off the year list. It's been a tough weekend, but that was good. That was good.
We now had to head home, but thought we'd pop back into the spinnies to see if the Coomling's gull had showed up.
Hey folks, so we've come back to the Spinneys Nature Reserve as we had to rush off for the snow goose. We've come back to see if we can find the Coomling's Iceland gull. It's not been reported today, but I'm going to have a look anyway. So let's see if we can find it.
By this time, the tide had gone significantly out, leaving a lot of bare, wet sand. And amongst the wet sand, seaweed and shallow water, there was a larger amount of gulls than previously. And our job now was to scan through these gulls, hoping that the Coomling's gull would be amongst them. And as it was low tide, the gulls were joined by other species too, including wading birds like curlew, and ducks including mallard and widgeon.
Well, if it's here, it's not immediately obvious. There are plenty of gulls out there, but nothing that looks Iceland gull-y. So, I'm going to continue scanning for a little bit, but this might be a dip.
Fearing another Iceland gull no-show like the previous day, we continued to look and hope and scan through all the birds present. But, try as we might, there was nothing that looked even vaguely like an Iceland gull, let alone the Coomling subspecies. So, unfortunately, we had to give up.
Hey folks, so unfortunately we didn't find the Coomling's Iceland gull. There's plenty of gulls out there, and it's been there for the last 3 afternoons, but not today, unfortunately. So I hate to end on a no-show.
We have had it though.
But we have seen one before this year, so we didn't need it. It would have been nice to get another one local. Anyway, thanks for joining us for the journey, and thanks very much for watching. Please like,
Please subscribe.
and please press the notification bell. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.